Now, Melbourne's sixth lockdown will lift in a matter of hours, thankfully, after Victoria achieved that 70% double dose vax target. The Federal Treasurer says there are legitimate questions, however, about why Victoria's 70% vaccination freedoms are more strict than those in New South Wales. Treasurer Frydenberg joined me a short time ago. I began by asking him, after a difficult couple of years for his home state and city of Melbourne, how he felt about the state reaching that 70% threshold.
Today is the day that all Victorians have been waiting for, because after 77 days of lockdown, we're now starting to see those restrictions being eased and kids are getting back to school, businesses are reopening, families are being reunited. But the real heroes of this pandemic have been the people of Australia, and no one has endured more than the people of Victoria. And Victorians have done the right thing, KG. They have gone out and got the jab in record numbers. So they've now hit 70% fully vaccinated, and 80% is in sight, and at 90% first dose, it's a higher rate of vaccination than the United Kingdom. And so Victorians deserve to be congratulated today for doing the right thing, for getting vaccinated. And I want to really pay tribute to them and provide a real big thank you to Victorian health workers who have supported our community, to Victorian business owners who have supported their staff, to Victorian teachers who have supported their students, to every mum and dad out there supporting their kids, and to every Victorian, because this is very much their moment. We're now opening up and we're not turning back.
Treasurer, the Chair of Epidemiology at Deakin University, Catherine Bennett, the former Deputy Chief Medical Officer, Dr Nick Coatsworth, he also an infectious disease expert. They wrote this week asking, among other things, why is the Victorian approach so much more cautious than New South Wales? Is that something that you reflect on too?
Well, they're certainly very legitimate questions to ask, and I've made similar comments in the past as well, because at 70% double dose vaccination rates in New South Wales, retail was open, indoor cinemas were open, swimming pools were open, gyms were open. You didn't need to wear a mask outside. Some of the larger events could be held. We haven't seen those sort of freedoms in Victoria at 70%. So they are legitimate questions to ask of the state government as to why people in New South Wales have got more freedoms at the same vaccination rate than the people of Victoria. But today is a day to celebrate. Today is a day where Victorians are getting rewarded for getting their vaccination rates up so quickly.
Last year, we saw a V-shaped recovery out of recession. How big is the latent demand in the economy this time as we open up once again?
Well, both Treasury and the Reserve Bank of Australia, and indeed independent assessments by the International Monetary Fund, the OECD and others, all see good prospects for the Australian economy once these restrictions are eased. There's no doubt that there was real momentum building in the economy prior to the Delta outbreak. Kieran, last year in the back half, we saw the strongest economic growth in 50 years. We saw the unemployment rate come down below 5% for the first time in a decade, bearing in mind that when we came to government, it was 5.7%, and in February last year, before the pandemic really hit, it was 5.1%. So we saw the labour market being resilient. We saw economic growth pick up. Then we were hit with Delta, and our two largest states went into lockdown. We provided an unprecedented amount of economic support through the COVID disaster payment, through small business packages in partnership with the states. That money has helped businesses and households get to the point where they can rebound strongly once restrictions are eased. So we're very confident that we will see strong growth, not just in the December quarter, but also into 2022. There's some $330 billion that's been accumulated on household and business balance sheets that was not there at the start of the pandemic. We've seen consumer and business confidence pick up in recent weeks. We know that job ads are around 30% higher than they were going into the pandemic, and our AAA credit rating has been not only reaffirmed, but our outlook has been upgraded by Fitch Credit Rating Agency. So I think there are really good fundamental economic reasons to be confident about the summer ahead and about the year ahead.
Treasurer, you made a speech on climate change, making the point, among others, that particularly the global capital markets have shifted. Dan Tehan, the Trade Minister, warning today about carbon border adjustments, i.e. tariffs, if Australia doesn't act. Do the Nats get the economic side of this issue?
Well, we've certainly made a lot of progress internally in working through the net zero by 2050 issue. We haven't, as a cabinet, taken a decision as of yet, and we're continuing those internal discussions. But the facts are very clear that the international money markets, financial markets, have very much factored in a net zero world, and this is impacting upon the way they price risk, the way they allocate their capital, the types of portfolios they put together. And as the Treasurer, I want Australia to capitalise on these opportunities presented by a lower emissions future. I don't want us to be disadvantaged by it. And it does affect Australia because we are heavily dependent on foreign capital. We've got $4 trillion worth of foreign investment. Bank funding is built on some of their borrowings from overseas. Half of our government bonds are bought by foreign buyers, foreign investors. So it's really important that we seize this opportunity. And it's clear that it's not a binary choice. It's not a zero-sum game between, on the one hand, a strong economy, Kieran, and on the other hand, a lower emissions future. Because since 2005, we've actually reduced our carbon footprint by more than 20% as a nation. Yet in that same time, our economy has grown by 40%. And there are 3 million more people in work today than back in 2005. So you don't have to choose between a strong economy and a lower emissions future. You can have both, but you just need not just the target, you also need the plan to deliver in a considered way and in an economically responsible way that lower emissions future.
On the climate issue, I know you get asked about the economics of it, but as a father, as opposed to just Treasurer, on this issue of climate change, do you reflect on what sort of world that you want to leave your kids and future generations?
Well, certainly climate change is real. It's an important policy priority, and we've been acting. The fact that our emissions are down by more than 20% since 2005, yet Canada's are down by less than 1%. New Zealand's are down by less than 5%. They've been going up, emissions in China and India. We have seen $35 billion of investment in renewable energy since 2017. You know, 1 in 4 Australian households have solar panels on their roofs, the highest on a per capita basis anywhere in the world. And now we have that technology investment roadmap, which is leveraging our $20 billion worth of government funding and support to hopefully see $80 billion of investment in a more sustainable, environmentally friendly and lower emissions future. That's what we're focused on. It's getting on with practical, real action, and again, we'll continue to build on that in the weeks, the months and the years ahead.